There's no way it's over. No way this fight is over already. This thing was brutal. I thought that Geto was gonna have his turnaround in a moment to kind of like get revenge on Fushiguro for all he's done. I mean, we even see like he seemingly killed the maid chick. That Kuroi, I think is her name. I didn't pay a lot. Rico, sad Rico going down, and sad like this whole debacle of how things have been going for them, because it just right when you thought things were getting more positive, this dude pops up and just continues his brutal slaughter of all these characters. But from there, it's starting to kind of turn in their favor a little bit, starting to get a little bit nicer. Since then, we haven't got a lot of friendliness. I'll just go with Fushiro's character. He's been a complete brute. I mean, even this nice creature, like cursed spirit dragon kind of shape. He gives it a name, the Rainbow Dragon, and you see him on chapter 65. I mean, one on there is a little bit different, but you see that kind of guy. And I've been speculating like its use and strength since that whole bit. That little teaser. And Fuchiguro just completely like shreds it apart like nothing, fillets this guy, and just continues to just plow through everything that the Geto really sends his way, because we know it's similar to Maki, because we obviously see Maki earlier in the story, or I guess earlier in the chapters. Not, and this is way earlier in the timeline. To cover up the gap of not having cursed energy, like just similar to Maki, that Geto is just an absolute physical powerhouse, and he's smart. He's very tactical. He knows how to like mess with stuff. And I was gonna use the panel, of like the Rainbow Dragon coming to bite him, and he's got the gun at him. He shoots some bullets at Geto. Geto just like kind of summons this cursed spirit squid thing, uses it straight as a meat shield, and then when you think maybe the Rainbow Dragon got a hit, and Fushiguro just dodged out of the way, and then he explains how like he keeps the cursed spirit that stores cursed tools in, because one of the reasons he was able to get in is because this place is a secret. There are really no guards. You would only know if you would only be able to get in if you knew where to go. And even if you got in at that point, if you had cursed energy, it would detect you. But because he doesn't have cursed energy, they didn't find anything. But because he's able to use cursed tools, if he has the cursed tools out, then they're going to be able to detect that aspect coming in. And the reason that he was able to do this is because the cursed spirit that he used, it's got like the little storage dimensional stomach. It like to make itself smaller, it will eat itself, because obviously as it is, its body, its stomach is like a little pocket dimension. So it kind of does like a Ouroboros eating its own tail, and that just gets smaller in the process. And then he ends up actually eating it. It pretty much becomes like a little meatball, and he puts it in his stomach, and he's able to pretty much conceal this creature within his body. And then once that happens, it will come out, and he can get tools out of it. And that's actually the reason why I think this fight isn't over. It's specifically this creature. If you read Volume 0, Fushiguro is actually seen with this same cursed spirit, and he actually is using it in his fight with Yuta when he pulls out his like combat like triple link staff. So I think he ends up coming back to this fight, and I'll explain why I think that is at the end of the chapter. But while they're fighting, and he's explaining obviously like his whole way of like getting in, and when the whole flaying of the dragon, like super rough. But then there's like this other one, because we saw that it wasn't just the Rainbow Dragon that Geto summoned at the end of the chapter. He ends up summoning like this multi-eyed creature, like with like weird bandages all up, and this woman with like fanged teeth, and she asks Fushiguro if he thinks she's pretty. And this Fushiguro's character, this dude is raw as hell. Like he's not only brutal, he's not only like a really good tactician, he's not only a ruthless killer, but when he's like asking about it, like he's like, I don't know, I'm kind of curious, but you're not my type. But when he says like, I'm kind of curious, was this dude kind of thinking like, could I have sex with this cursed spirit demon creature? This was on this guy's like kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'll give it a shot, but it's not the time. I'd be really curious if he ran into this cursed spirit. Otherwise, if he would be like, I don't know, maybe I shall try. I will never know if I can put my dick in this until I try. But once he says that she's not his type, like some like kind of like flippers appear in his hand, and like the blood starts to form around his ear, and you just see all these like kind of like large clipping tools form around him. And he's not stupid. Like he's obviously very physical prowess. He's able to figure it out and just deflects all the things because he still has the inverted spear of heaven, which can like cancel out like cursed energy abilities and whatnot, shut him down. He just kind of like swats all these blades, takes them all out, and this part was actually really cool because it gave some kind of like explanation of powers within them, and specifically about curse manipulation, because that's what Geto's thing is. Like similar, like unlike Megumi is a Shikigami kind of like specialty. He's kind of able to make these creatures out of shadow, out of like cursed energy shadows. Whereas Geto is more of like he's control, he like tames and like just completely collars up cursed spirits. He's actually finding cursed spirits and making them, his familiar, making them a slave to him. And they pretty much explain how there's levels because there's, we know similar to cursed spirits, the sorcerers have levels. And from there, they explain it like if a cursed, one of the sorcerers is 2 levels or more above a cursed spirit, he can straight just like pretty much automatically take control of it. He can automatically imbue this aspect onto it. So I'm wondering if like that also entails to like the ability to like know how strong a cursed spirit is by looking at him. I mean, it would make sense if your whole thing is, oh yeah, I'm a cursed spirit user, like maybe or you're a cursed manipulation kind of guy. Like maybe it just comes with it. You're kind of like like a Pokédex kind of thing, a built-in Pokédex for him. And he's gonna get the weapons cache away from him and just fight him on a physical standpoint. Because if he got that away from him and pretty fully disarm Fushiguro, I think he would have a lot better of a fight. But this part was so cool. The panel layout, because he ends up getting rejected by the creature, and the creature then kind of spits up a blade for Fushiguro to use. I'm curious to know what that means. Is this creature a lot higher level than he knew? Is there something kind of going on with it that it would give it this ability that it repelled his ability to take control over them? But I love the part because you see Fushiguro is wielding the inverted dagger of heaven, or inverted spear of heaven in his right hand, and you see in that panel after he gets the blade, it's just in the air, and he ends up getting that blade, another blade out of the cursed spirit, with and then slashes both Fushiguro, like X's across both him and the cursed spirit that he had, and then catches the inverted spear of heaven midair, and then cuts him up again, obviously turning off his cursed spirit, cursed manipulation abilities, all his jujutsu sorcery abilities, and now he's just bleeding out on the floor. Like he not only got cut open in the chest, but now he's had his cursed abilities just rendered inert for right now. So it's just looking bad for him, and this actually makes sense because we know from the other 3 characters, Fushiguro was just fine killing them. But in the case of Geto is a cursed manipulator, and he's like, but the thing is, he says like, I would have killed you if you were a Shikigami user, because the difference is Shikigami kind of like create their familiars, whereas the cursed manipulators kind of tame already existing ones. And he says like he doesn't really know what would happen if he died. Like maybe all the cursed spirits that is under his control would just kind of like pop up and just run wild. So he's like, he pretty much says like, the only reason I'm gonna let this dude just either live or bleed out is because of the fact that I don't want to deal with that if it ended up happening. And it tells him to thank his parents. It shows everyone that's dead, and he even says like when he's like, even though you guys have all your blessings and your powers and your abilities, you lost to somebody. He even calls himself a monkey who can't use abilities. And this is important because what's interesting in Volume 0 is when Geto meets Maki, he ends up calling her a jujutsu-less monkey. And this here, we have Fushiguro refer to himself as that. So I'm wondering how much of that carries over. Plus the fact that Geto ends up with that same kind of like weapon storage creature, cursed spirit. So I'm wondering like that's my whole reason for him getting up. And then he gets like a funny part where he mentions like, Megumi's son, and his name means blessings, and he's like, it's kind of ironic I named him that. But in that last panel, you see, a little twitch of Geto's finger. Or at least, that's not Geto, that's just looking. Well, I guess it could be. No, because I'm looking at the tile panels now, as I'm kind of thinking about it. The tile panels where Geto is are all square, and the tile panels where Satoru are all kind of like broken up into rocks, kind of like misshapen ones. So he's gonna get up and probably go down and lay siege, probably drop his area expansion. And regardless if it's Satoru or Geto, maybe they team up to fight him. I think area expansion is gonna need to be the thing that whoever beats Fushiguro is gonna have, because regardless of it being Geto or Satoru, it's the one thing that they have on them, because we already know about area expansion that one, it base like increases all your capabilities, like increases your attack power, your durability, and then it has like personal buffs, like what we saw with Megumi. Megumi like has that kind of like pool of water that's actually just like liquid shadow that gives him like a higher level of manipulation. And with Satoru's is weird because he pretty much just like overloads, somebody like the people's senses, so they can't. They just kind of like they're just so much going on their head that they can't really operate. I imagine with Ghetto's would be kind of like it boosts up his cursed spirits. Is what I at least imagine. Like, okay, here's my cursed spirit. It's maybe it all around buffs them. Maybe it moves them up a grade higher, or just gives them like a 2 to 3 times buff. Like maybe the same buff that he would get ends up going for spirits. But something like that, because with area expansion, one of the drawbacks to it is if the opponent you're fighting has a stronger area expansion, it'll just pretty much override an Eclipse yours, and then they didn't only defeat like your trump card, but now they have theirs out and you're pretty screwed. But that's the one thing Fushiguro can't do here. He can't use an area expansion. He can't do it. Or like maybe Ghetto's is he can just summon more. Maybe it's not just an upgrade. He could summon like maybe all of the first spirits that can fit within his zone. Like me, I don't know, within his area expansion, just summon as many as possible. We don't know if he can just mass out because I don't know how many he has, but in volume 0 he had one of these special grades, but like in numbers he had like 4,430 something lower than special grade cursed spirits that he's gonna use. I mean, he still could have something pretty impressive up his sleeve. Obviously, with that little twitch at the very end, I thought it was Ghetto, to be perfectly honest. But then, like rereading it as I'm, certain aspects as I'm literally reviewing this chapter, I noticed the tile on the floor was, the ones under Satoru, not the one Ghetto. But I still think Ghetto's going to get up because of the fact that he ends up with that cursed spirit. A team up possibly. Regardless, though, I'm going to say area expansion is going to be the turnaround, because that's the one thing that Fushiguro can't really do. I mean, he can get cursed tools to give buffs and specific abilities, but he can't get an area expansion without having cursed energy. That's obviously like the big special trump card of a. Other than that, tell me what you thought about this chapter. This dude is just seemingly unstoppable. He's so vicious, and he's so smart at how he knows like how these characters fight, and I think that's the most kind of like aggressive thing about him. He's just this hunter who specializes in learning about his prey and just figuring out how to exploit them. Like even says like when he went to go after Satoru, because like he was worn down and neither the weapon he used or Fushiguro himself had cursed energy, he knew that Satoru wouldn't sense him, and that's how he got that first attack in. I'm so curious to know how he's going to survive, because obviously we know he survives, but I want to know how. Maybe it's one of the abilities of the Six Eyes. Maybe it got something like a power we don't know he has, because obviously he can't die. So it's not like in the main story if like he just pulled some power up and it's like, hey, I'm alive. It's like this would be one of those times where you could just pull up a power and it'd be like, oh, okay, he has this, because we know no matter what he's gonna live. It's a question of what he has that lets him live. Kind of like. Other than that, comment below what you thought about this chapter. How do you think this is going? I love this. This is such a flashback. So goddamn good. And tell me in the comments below. And I'd really appreciate the thumbs up the video, from the like button and the subscribe button. Check out my other videos from that. I appreciate everyone who subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.